Hello everyone. Ninth standard science materials, metals and the non-metals. In this chapter, we go with extra questions. It's not the questions from textbook, it is the extra questions. Let me begin with first question. Which of the following can be beaten into thin sheets? There is the option like zinc, phosphorus, sulfur and the oxygen. Of course, you know that oxygen is a gas, sulfur is also, the phosphorus also. The zinc is one of the metals, so the answer is zinc. Of course, how it looks zinc. Zinc is almost like a blackish color and it have the uh, plate-like structure. If would have the steel plates, like the formation or the kind of zinc is formed in the nature. So zinc is one of the option. Why? Because oxygen is a gas, sulfur is also almost a gas, phosphorus is a solid but it is not a metal. So answer is zinc. Second question, which of the following statement is correct? All the metals are ductile. All non-metals are ductile. Generally, metals are the ductiles. Some non-metals are the ductiles. When you're writing absolutely correct statement, we go the metals are the ductiles. Metals are the ductiles. Of course, we could not say all the metals are the ductiles. Maybe some metals may not be ductile also. So, the option the C is the right answer. Generally, metals are the ductiles, but when you're going to say or when you're going to say all the metals which cannot be, of course you know that sodium is also a metal, but does not have the ductile nature. Such conditions, so is like a zinc is a metal but it have the ductile nature, so we could not say all the metals are the ductiles, but general talk is metals are ductile. Third question, fill in the blanks. Let me see the fill in the blanks, which and all there. Fill in the blanks means the statement is given and the blank is given. You should fill the answers that itself. Let me go with the question. Phosphorus is a very dash non-metal. Phosphorus, of course, if you study the chemistry, this one of the most important item. Phosphorus is very reactive metal. Of course, you know that it is one of the most reactive substance, like a sodium or a potassium. Also, phosphorus is one of the reactive item. Second question, metals are dash conductor of heat and dash. Of course, you know that metals are having a property like shining or reductile or whatever the malleability, such questions will be there. So the answers are very good. Transformation of the heat as well the electricity. The metal will very good transportation of the electricity along with the heat also. That's the answer. The next question is, iron is dash reactive than the copper. You should know the whether the iron is more reactive than copper or the less. You know the substance, both iron is also metal, the copper is also metal. Whether the iron is more reactive or the copper. Of course, iron is the more reactive substance or more reactive. It is reacts with the more with compared to the iron, with compared to the copper. So iron is more. Metals react with acid to produce dash gas. When it is processed, when the metal is heated or when it is mixed with the acid, dash gases will come out. Might have known that any metal, not only any metal, when it is burns with or mixed with acid, there is a gases is liberates. So, when the metal is treated with acid, any acid, it may be the hydrochloric acid or a sulfuric acid, any acid, then there is a liberation of hydrogen gas. So, when the reaction metal plus acid gives the hydrogen gas. Next question, mark T if the statement is true and F if it is a false. Whether you have to write the statement, given statement is true or false. Let me read. Generally, non-metals react with acid. No. Generally, metals is reactive, highly react with the acid. Of course, you know that when the metal is reacts with combined with acid to form the hydrogen gases liberates. We already studied these concepts. So, what the statement is given here, the general statement is given here based on the non-metal. This is the false. Non-metal react with acid is a false. It does not, almost does not. Sodium is very reactive metal. Definitely, even a blind person also could say the answer is a true. So this is one of the easiest question. Sodium having the molecular formula Na. So it is highly reactive. That's why sodium is kept in the kerosene. So if you want to store the sodium, you will keep in kerosene, make it pieces, small pieces, and you will keep it in kerosene. Why? Because if it is kept outside, it will be reactive to the gas also. Copper displaces zinc from zinc sulfate solution. Of course, this is a false answer. Zinc sulfate solution, zinc plus sulfate, ZnSO4. Okay, when it's treated with the copper, it never be treated, copper sulfate never be gets. Why? Because zinc is more reactive substance or more highly reactive substance compared to the copper. So we could say it never be forms or a copper never be displaces the zinc sulfate solution. Carbon can be drawn into a wires. Can you imagine? Carbon is like a solid, but it is not a metal. If you want to any metal into a wire means any item into a wire means the most is like a metal. So carbon cannot be drawn into a wires. That's one of the most important question. Let's we go with one more questions. Some properties are listed in the following table. Distinguish between the metals and the non-metals on the basis of these property. Let's see, some of the property are given here. You have to distinguish which is the metals and which is the non-metals. Like appearance or the hardness or the malleability or based on the ductility or the conduction of the heat, whether it conduct the heat or not. Sometimes the conduction of electricity, whether the given component is passes with electricity or not. Conduction means the electricity has to be passes through that substance, then we could say it is a conductor of electricity or conductance of the electricity. Let we go. Non-metals, metals. Metals are shiny and non-metals are the non-retrous or a dull based on the appearance. How it looks, based on looks, metals are looks like a very shiny and the non-metals may not be shine. You could have observed that the metal having a iron rod when it is very shiny, and if a carbon it may not be give this shining. Based on the hardness, metal is a very hard. Iron rod cannot be folded by us. Carbon? Yes, definitely. I'll cut it by my hand itself. So, we could give the justification is the hard and the soft. Next statement is metals malleable and the non-malleability. Based on the malleability, we could show that malleable metals are the malleable and the non-metals are not a malleable. We cannot be converted into a thin sheets the non-metals. Ductile, ductility. Even a ductility is having the property for the metal and not the non-metals. Of course, this is one of the most differentiation question. Metals are the ductils and non-metals are the non-ductils. Metals are definitely good conductor of heat and the non-metals bad conductor of heat, or it does not conduct the heat, or it never be transfer the heat one place to the another. But if you heat the iron rod one place, the next place also it conducts. So that's why we could say that heat will be transferred through the metal rod or any item. So good conductor as well the bad conductor. Conductance based on the heat. The metal will conduct the conduct, but the non-metals may not be conduct. So this is one more concepts. Metals is a good conductor. Non-metals are the bad conductor of electricity. Of course, you know that electricity or the wires is always made up of the metal item. It does not by the any other. So, metals are the good conductor and the non-metals are the bad conductor. So, this is one of the most important questions. Next question 6. Give reasons for the following. Let me see what are the things will be there. Aluminum foils are used to wrap the food item. Is it? This is a good. Why the food item when you're going to hotel, if you would have parcel to some item to the home, they will use the aluminum foil to wrap the food item. Let me see why is this. Aluminum is not toxic. It's not too much of the toxic, but we could not say it is exactly non-toxic. It is almost comparatively other. It is non-toxic as well. Malleability, or the aluminum can be converted to very thin sheets, and also the hence thin sheets of the aluminum can be formed, or it can be easily to fold it. The malleability can, based on the malleability, aluminum foil is used. Immersion rods for heating. Liquids are made up of metallic substance. Immersion of rods for heating on the liquids made up of metallic substance. Let me see the answer. What would be there? Answers are: metallic substances are very good conductors of electricity. Yes, I just said right now, electricity wires are made up of metal or a metal substance. So, metals are transformation of electricity from one place to the another, or it is a very good conductor. So, rods are made up of a metallic substance. That's it. So, metallic substances are very good conductor of electricity. That's the answer. At the third question is right now. Copper is less reactive than zinc, hence it cannot be displaced zinc from its salt solution. Just I gone this question before that itself. Copper is less reactive compared to the zinc. So, zinc cannot be replaced the copper. Copper is less reactive than the zinc, hence cannot be replaced zinc from its solution. That's it. So that's the answer. When the zinc is mixed with the sulfate or zinc sulfate, when it is react with the copper, it does not change or the react. We never get the answer as a copper sulfate. Why? Because zinc is more reactive than the copper. That's one of the questions. Fourth question. Sodium and the potassium are stored in the kerosene. Why? For this question also I explained before itself. Sodium and the potassium, definitely they will be stored in the kerosene as well, one of the closed pack bottle. Why? Because it vigorously reacts with oxygen and the water. Either the sodium or the potash is also very highly reactive substance or a highly reactive metals to the water, along to the water or even to the oxygen. So when you keep the sodium inside the kerosene, it does not sodium is absorbed by the kerosene. Question number 7. Can you store the lemon pickle in the aluminum utensil? Explain. Yes, if you're a kid, you could know that the lemon pickles is having the taste like a soap. Yes. So, can you store these sour items in the aluminum utensil? Can you? The answer is no. Answer is no. We cannot store the lemon pickle in the aluminum utensil. Why? Because aluminum is a metal and the lemon is a sour or acidic. Citric acid is present in the lemon. So both combined each other and produce a toxic substance. So lemon or a lemon pickle cannot be stored in the aluminum utensil. Question number 8. Match the following. Column A as well the column B. Gold, jewelry, iron, machinery, aluminum wrapping the food, carbon used as a fuel, copper, electric wire, mercury used in the thermometer. This is the answer itself. I did not mention the match the following questions. This is the answer. Of course, you know that gold is a jewelry. Every kids or the girl baby itself used it. Iron is always made up of the machines. Aluminum is wrapped the food. Next question. What would happen when you do it? Or let me see. The question is one by one. Dilute sulfuric acid poured on the copper plate. Dilute made the number of solute particle is less as well the number of solvent particle is more. The sulfuric acid having the molecular formula H2SO4. When it is reacts with copper having the molecular formula is Cu. When it combines together, copper is very highly reactive to compare to the hydrogen. So there is a metal has been replaced its reaction. the copper has been replaced CuSO4, or it is also called as a copper sulfate. Then there is a hydrogen gas is liberates of. So we know that when the metal is reacts with the acid, then there is a liberation of the hydrogen gas. So that's what going to be here. Copper mixed with the H2SO4 gives the copper sulfates along with the liberation of hydrogen. Next question. Iron nails are placed in the copper sulfate solution. Write the word equation of the reaction involved. Iron nail, which is having the molecular formula Fe. That's, you know that in the equation paper they did not mention. When you're going to write the equation, that's all you should know. When you're going to write the equations, you should know the molecular formula of each and every items. Either it might be the metals or the non-metals, whatever. When you're going to write the equation, you should know the molecular name. That's it. Copper sulfate. What the molecular from the copper sulfate? CuSO4. What the answer going to be here? Or the thing? Iron displaces copper from copper sulfate solution. Hence, reddish brown copper is formed on the iron nail, and the blue color of the copper sulfate solution slowly becomes the light green. Of course, you know that copper sulfate having a color of blue color. When it is takes the reaction, it turns into a light green. That's why we could say it is changes the reaction or does do the reaction. Iron plus copper sulfate gives copper plus iron sulfate. Sa plus CuSO4 gives Cu plus FeSO4. So, copper sulfate is in the form of blue color or sky blue color. When it is formed this FeSO4, that's the changes, or the color has been changes into the light green. Question number 10. Saloni took a piece of burning charcoal and collected the gas involved in the test tube. Let's see what is happening here. Let how she is find the nature of the gas. To find the nature of gas, she will dissolve it in the water and test it with the litmus paper. Of course, she did something and changes. Litmus paper is used whether the given kind is acid or base. Write down the word equation for all the reactions takes place in this process. Charcoal plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide plus water gives carbonic acid, or it is also called H2CO3. And the nature of this gas is acidic because it turns red litmus to the blue. That's one of the main reaction. Here the conversion. Next question. One day, Rita went to a jewelry shop with her mother. Her mother gave old gold jewelry to the goldsmith to polish. The next day, when they brought the jewelry back, they found there was a loss in its weight. Can you suggest the reason for the loss of weight? Yes, most of the thing will happen right now also. The jewelry must have cleared the jewelry in aqua means water region solution. This solution is a mixture of concentrated hydrochloric acid and concentrated nitric acid in the ratio of 3:1. So what they are did means they are did with the hydrochloric acid along with the nitric acid. They dipped it. This is acid solution dissolves some gold in it, due to which there is loss in the weight of jewelry. The gold will definitely going to dissolve in the such solution. Please subscribe my channel. My channel's name is Shruti Peral for more videos. ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೋಲನ್ನು ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸುವವನಿಗಿಂತ ಅದರಿಂದ ಕಲಿಯುವವನೇ ಯಶಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಹತ್ತಿರವಾಗಿರುತ್ತಾನೆ. If you do fail, if you are done fail in the life, accept it, then it will be then it takes you to near the success. Thank you for watching. Thanks a lot. Please subscribe. My channel is Shruti Peral. Thank you.